Joe Budden is no stranger to poking the hornet's nest. It's one of the qualities that has both kept him relevant long after his rap career cooled and made him the centerpiece of hip-hop commentary.
A lot of support, so I wish she could let most things kind of roll off her back. But at the same time, Joe, come on, like I cringed at the third. Who wrote this? Whoever wrote this is fire. It was like, okay, all right, we get the point. You don't think that she wrote any of her fire lyrics, so that's all.
Truth be known, she doesn't write her own stuff though.
Like, yeah, that's what I don't get. Like, we know party rights for like I'm so it's like, are we supposed to like, is this supposed to be the pink elephant in the room that nobody talks about? Like, nobody's supposed to bring
No, I mean you could talk about it, but after like the third time, it's like, come on.
We don't do the same thing for Beyonce. We don't do
exactly. That's my point.
A lot of people.
Well, we could use the big one, Little Kim. People respect Little
Beyonce's
Kim.
not a rapper, though.
Exactly. Cardi is the only person he does that.
No, he does that to
and
Lil'
there's a
Kim.
lot of people that have
bring up
writers.
Lil' Kim, he says he feels like he has to talk about Notorious B.I.G.
That's not the same thing as what he does to Cardi, though.
What's up, Jim?
Yo. No. Enough now. Micah, mute up. It's a real on stage, and it's still Virgo season. Enough. Juicy said it for me, but that's what I came out to ANOMS to say. What is this, like some taboo? Like, we not supposed to ask who wrote what when we know somebody's writing this? Like, what is the problem here?
What pushes her buttons.
I don't give a about that lady's buttons. Listen, y'all, I almost wrote
then
today,
don't
but I
act
deleted
shocked
it.
when she thinks
I deleted it
purpose
because I'm in a
button.
good mood and we feeling nice and it's a celebratory mood. But who give a about that lady feelings?
Okay, well, you finally said it, and now she knows that that's how you feel instead of acting like oblivious to.
I don't give a about nobody feelings. This is a celebratory moment, and you should honor the writers. Honor the writers. I'm honoring writers. That's not a slight to nobody.
Okay. For rappers, sometimes that's a slight.
Enough.
For
You bitches don't write.
Whoa.
I will.
Okay.
Like, I don't understand why we can't talk about it. Oh, you know she's gonna feel away. Then write some.
Well, I'll stand alone on this. I think that after the third who wrote it, it felt kind of cringy to me. I can stand alone on that.
But that could be a different person writing it.
All right, Joe.
Why is it cringy if it could be a different person writing it?
It was cringy to me. Maybe to everyone else it wasn't. I cringed.
Joe was crazy.
No, you're not alone. You're just speaking up, and we appreciate you speaking up. But don't think you're alone.
I love you, but cringe.
I love you too, Joe. But
that was okay. All right.
Wait, somebody asked about Little Kim though. If he feels the same way about Little Kim.
Oh my God! Here we go. Why we got Little Kim minding her business, being the icon. Leave her out of this, please.
What about Micah's point when he says Beyonce? You know, nobody talks about the writers when it comes to like the other artists that get spoken on.
Never.
Yeah, every time I hear a timestamp record, I want to hear about the writers too.
Every single time, Joe.
All right, Micah.
I'm sure they're doing a great job.
That's how did I catch it straight?
I felt like it was about to get negative up here. Wale, Mr. Falarin. Sorry if I messed your name up. Go ahead, man.
All good.
What
All
did I
good.
do?
Well, it's all good. Peace in the room. I love this community. You know, this community.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Very informative, very hilarious. You know, I have to say that. But there's something. You know, I've been listening to JVP for a long time, right? At least 10 years now. And I think there's something that's usually missing anytime Joe finds himself in this position.
He doesn't tiptoe. He doesn't soften. He doesn't calibrate his takes to avoid the inevitable blowback. If anything, he seems to thrive on the storm. That's why when he found himself on a Twitter space, surrounded by Cardi B's most devoted supporters, it was only a matter of time before the familiar dynamic unfolded. Joe speaking bluntly, the fans circling the wagons, and the discourse spiraling into a spectacle of laughter, defensiveness, and raw hip-hop culture colliding with celebrity worship. At the center of it all was a subject that has always carried tension in rap: ghostwriting. The mere mention of the term is enough to ignite entire comment sections, fracture fandoms, and provoke lectures about authenticity. For Budden, who has lived and died by the pen, who has defined himself as a lyricist in an era when that identity was both currency and burden, ghostwriting is not just a technical issue. It is a fault line. To him, bringing it up is not shade. It is a matter of respect for the craft. Yet to Cardi B's legion of defenders, even acknowledging that others have written for her is framed as disrespect, as if the admission undermines her entire career. So when Budden leaned into the point, not once, not twice, but repeatedly, the room shifted. What had begun as a casual conversation with jokes and camaraderie suddenly felt like a trial. Each repetition was like a poke at a bruise. The fans flinched. They scrambled to push back. They tried to pivot. They invoked other names, other icons, other examples of artists who have benefited from collaborators without losing their shine. They called it unnecessary, obsessive, even cringeworthy. Yet Budden kept the pressure steady, not maliciously but stubbornly, as if to say, why are we pretending this is taboo? Why are we acting as if mentioning the obvious is a crime? That's the essence of Budden's style. He takes what people whisper and drags it into daylight. He refuses to let the room collude in silence. And that refusal can be maddening. For those invested in maintaining the image of Cardi as a wholly self-made lyricist, it felt like sabotage. For those invested in hip-hop as a culture that honors penmanship, it felt like honesty. The clash was inevitable. But here's the deeper layer. Budden wasn't even centering the conversation on Cardi herself. He was centering the writers. He was saying, with his usual bluntness, that credit should be given where credit is due. He wasn't mocking Cardi for not writing every bar. He was mocking the culture for pretending that crediting writers is an act of hate. He wanted to shift the applause. He wanted to take some of the light that beams endlessly on the superstar and reflect it toward the unseen laborers who craft the hits. That's not shade, that's philosophy. Yet because the delivery was sharp and repetitive, because Budden has never been known for gentle framing, the fans heard it as attack. And here we arrive at one of the strangest dynamics in hip-hop fandom, the blurring of love for the music and loyalty to the celebrity. Cardi B is not just an artist. She is a personality, a figure, a brand that fans feel personally invested in. To them, defending her against perceived slander is part of being a fan. Is not about truth or history or nuance. Is about allegiance. So when Budden poked at the subject of ghostwriting, the fans didn't hear a plea for crediting writers. They heard someone trying to puncture the mythos of their idol. And in the hyper-defensive space of stans, mythos is sacred. Budden, of course, knows this. He knows how fandoms operate. He has been on both sides, the artist defending his own legacy and the commentator questioning others. That's why the roasting tone emerged. He leaned into humor, into mockery, into dismissing the fans' outrage as oversensitivity. He painted them as people too fragile to handle reality, too quick to cry foul, too unwilling to separate art from artist. And once that gear clicked in, the conversation was no longer about ghostwriting at all. It was about ego, pride, and the theater of confrontation. The thing about Budden is that he doesn't just argue. He performs the argument. His cadence rises, his laughter punctuates the tension, his interruptions create rhythm. Listening to him spar with Cardi's defenders felt less like a debate and more like a podcast episode breaking out live. He riffed. He doubled back. He exaggerated for effect. He played to the audience, listening silently, knowing that the room was filled with lurkers waiting for a clip-worthy moment. Every barb, every sarcastic chuckle, every repetition of the same point was fuel for the spectacle. And that's where his critics often misunderstand him. They think he is simply cantankerous, that he picks fights for sport. In truth, he is a dramatist. He understands that in the attention economy, the debate is less about facts and more about delivery. He understands that the clip of him dismissing a fan with laughter will travel farther than any careful argument. He understands that the entertainment value is inseparable from the cultural commentary. But let's not dismiss the substance altogether. Ghostwriting matters in rap in ways it doesn't in other genres. Hip-hop was built on the premise that the MC's voice was their own, that the words were the direct expression of their lived experience. To rap someone else's bars without acknowledgement was once considered the ultimate fraud. Over the years, that rigidity has softened. Reference tracks leak, writers' camps are normalized, and the hit machine churns with collaboration. Yet the old values linger, especially among purists like Budden. To them, transparency about writing credits is not a nitpick. It is a line of respect. So when Budden hammered the point, he wasn't inventing controversy. He was holding on to a principle. But principles clash with celebrity worship, and in the space where those two forces meet, sparks fly. That's why the fans weren't content to let slide. They wanted to shut him down, to declare the topic off limits, to frame his persistence as bitterness or pettiness. Because if they admitted the validity of the point, they would have to hold two truths at once, that Cardi is both a charismatic performer and a vessel for other people's words. And for many, that duality is too complicated. Simpler to just cry foul. Budden, never one to let simplicity win, leaned harder. He mocked the idea that feelings should dictate truth. He scoffed at the notion that protecting an artist's image is more important than honoring the craft of writing. He called the fans out as fragile, as blinded by loyalty, as incapable of handling uncomfortable realities. And the more they bristled, the more he laughed. The roasting wasn't random cruelty. It was a deliberate exposure of the absurdity of arguing against facts. In that sense, the moment revealed more about the state of hip-hop culture than about Cardi B herself.